Welcome, friends! Today we're going to talk about Snow White, and if you thought the Disney remake was out of touch, well, I've got a surprise for you.
Allow me to introduce Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys. It was originally a multimedia PC game that by some miracle was actually licensed by Sony and ported to the PS2. And it's so impressively low effort, just like everything Disney does anymore. Snow White is a timeless classic that has been retold through jank media across generations. There's something truly magical about it, because this folk tale really brings out the low-effort, low-budget developers. It's honestly a miracle that Disney's original film turned out to be the masterpiece that it was. And it's an absolute shame that it's been tarnished by this live-action remake. It's so fitting though. I mean, it really is the end of an era. The very title that begat a legacy of animated films also marks the end of Disney as we once knew it. Now we're all having our fun with this, but it's actually very sad, because for the last 3 generations or so, we've all grown up with these timeless classics. Which you can still watch, of course. These movies aren't lost forever or anything. But like, you could watch these movies that your parents and grandparents remembered, and then go and watch the new one together. And this is a tradition that will be lost in the modern day. It will just never be like that again. And Disney's animated films aged incredibly well. Even the really old ones. I remember watching a lot of these as a child in the 90s, and having no idea that some of these movies were 50 years old even back then. That's crazy.
In 6 days, the motion picture that defined animation. The one that started it all, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
It really is a shame that the new Snow White is as bad as it is. But you know what doesn't suck? Extra Dungeon is a webcomic written and drawn by yours truly. There's cool animations and lots of little secrets to discover. You need to check this out. It's totally free. Plus, there's a shop with some sweet merch on there. And if you buy anything, it supports me directly. But you can also become a friend of the channel by becoming a member or by joining me on Patreon. You could choose the game for my next awesome video. Okay, enough of that. Let's get back to it.
Now it's been a downward slide for quite a while now. This isn't the first travesty to come out of Disney, and it certainly won't be the last. But it is quite impressive how much money gets spent on stuff like this, which is just obviously not going to find success. Something around $300 million on the new Snow White in particular. It's absolutely absurd.
So let's compare it to the floor low budget of Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys. I wonder who got it worse.
Alright, so let's take in this menu for a moment.
You already know this is gonna be good.
Now each one of these little guys floating around is a thing you can click on. The octopus is a movie, so we'll start there.
Not quite so long ago, and not so far away, near the 7th town across the 7th river, there was a beautiful forest.
I love these old 3D renders. The juxtaposition of it against the 2D MS Paint animations is certainly a stylistic choice.
All because the forest was kept perfectly in order by 7 clever and thoughtful young boys.
Okay, so right off the bat, these 2 movies are on the same page, because neither of them wants to use actual dwarves. Disney started off with 7 clever boys of their own, or 6 if that one's a girl. Wouldn't want to assume anyone's gender in the current year. I mean, you can pretend to be anything now, even a dwarf.
Now I don't like to bring this up all that often, but you see, I'm also a dwarf. Well, half dwarf and half angel, actually. You think I'm kidding?
Well, Thankfully, Disney dropped their 7 Clever Boys and decided to use CGI dwarves instead for their live-action movie, which certainly is a stylistic choice. They very easily could have got real dwarves for these roles, or even just regular actors. I mean, Lord of the Rings cast regular people as their hobbits. Hollywood has just lost its magic.
What we've done with some of our forced perspective shots is be able to move the camera for the first time. That they were always techniques that required the camera to be locked off, because once you started to move the camera, it would give away the illusion of one person being further away when you're really wanting them to look like they're side by side.
In order to get the camera alive, we started thinking about ways of using motion control in order to doing what we call moving forced perspective shots using slave motion control bases.
You do a motion control move where you have the one actor on a moving platform. So when the camera moves, you're doing your moves all relative. So you're literally sliding the guy along on the floor as your motion control move is motion control camera is moving along.
Now CGI dwarves are fine. These ones look like something straight out of Shrek. I mean, it's fine, it's whatever. It does look a bit creepy though. Now whatever happened to Disney's high-quality animation? I mean, movies from 20 years ago are just blowing this completely out of the water.
But enough of that. Let's see them boys.
Every day the 7 boys would clean the forest and make it fresh. And here they are. First there was Cubby, who was like a small bear.
Ah, that's cute. He's like a small bear.
And then there was Big Basil, who was huge. Well, for a boy he was huge.
Well, they don't call him Big Basil for nothing.
And then Sunny, who took care of the plants and the animals.
Oh my god. Now that could go right here, and it wouldn't even be the worst one.
And Jacob, who was in charge of keeping order in the forest. Then Michael, who cared for the flowers, and then the professor, who was the most intelligent, and then the 7th boy, Joseph Jr.
All the rest of these are rather uninteresting. I think they used up all their creativity on one character in particular. Not gonna say any names.
So the 7 boys spent every day cheerfully working protecting the forest greenery. They were such good boys because they really cared about the environment.
In this one, they're supposed to be like caretakers of the forest. But in the original folktale, the dwarves were miners that worked in the mountains. We're only seconds in, and liberties have been taken, pretty much everywhere. It's a far cry from the timeless and classic story that we remember. This one obviously takes place in some backwater Kentucky trailer park.
But then one evening they came back to their cabin and were surprised to find the door open. Yes, wide open. How could that be? Who could it be? Oh, there's a funny face on the chimney. Look, and the spook. What is going on?
I think we all want to know what's going on here.
Oh, it's one of those games. Where do I click first? Do I even have control now? What is it doing? Oh, it's going into a song. Excellent. I love the old Disney musicals.
Sparkling mirror, the truth you can see. Oh, say it please, who is
But this,
beautiful?
not like this.
She is so
Not like this.
jealous of
Not like this.
Disney songs used to be the best parts of the movies, but now they're just really cringe.
Have you not heard that scatterbot?
I don't know. Maybe it's just not for me.
From the women who wash all the clothes to the hunter who arrows the bows.
Or anyone.
And get ready for the wedding, so we can't slow down.
This one, though, they are selling it so hard. It's so artsy for no reason. These trippy visuals would fit just right behind a PS1 DDR track.
Show the miracle of beauty in the lake of your glass. Her heart so hard, it won't let
Oh,
me
this is
pass.
deep. But somehow, though, this is still better than every modern Disney song. And the lead character isn't a total bitch.
I'm a narcissist.
Snow White is supposed to be kind and loving. It's kind of the complete opposite, isn't it?
And very evidently so.
Oh yeah, hit it, Sonny.
I know that you really care. Let me say how lives we can share.
So Snow White came to stay with the 7 boys. Of course she did. And the boys promised they would look after her and keep her safe from the evil queen. Such noble, brave, and clever boys.
Of course she did. You think she wouldn't? You just find a stranger in your house, and they're a part of the family now?
I can't really judge, because I'm pretty sure that there's a hobo living in my crawl space. Now this is a true story. I was gone for about 3 days, and when I came home, I found a large pair of very well-worn pants hanging from these boards that I cover the hole with. And now from time to time, I hear thumping from under the floor. Could be raccoons, could be a hobo, who knows. But I tell you what, I'm not going down there to find out.
Now they skipped right over this part. In the folk tale, a huntsman is ordered to kill Snow White. But instead, he warns her that the queen is after her. And then after running away, she wanders into their house. But no one is home, so she just helps herself to everything they got. And when the dwarves come home and discover her, they decide to let her stay with them, in exchange for keeping the house like a total trad wife. I wonder if the new Snow White is too progressive to wash dishes.
And very evidently so.
But then something terrible happened. The wicked queen disguised herself as an ugly old hag and gave Snow White a poisoned apple. The poor girl took one bite and fell down unconscious, fast asleep, possibly forever.
We're all familiar with this part, but in the fairy tale, the evil queen actually tries a number of schemes, and it gets episodic, like a cartoon villain. First, she comes as an old peddler and offers her a silky laced bodice. I've never seen that word before, but this was high fashion back in the fantasy days. The evil queen then ties it up so tight that Snow White passes out, and then just leaves her for dead. But then the dwarves find her before it's too late. The queen comes back around again as another peddler, this time selling combs, and puts a poisoned one in Snow White's hair, which takes her out, of course. But even though she'd been poisoned, when the dwarves come back around and find her this time, pulling out the comb from her hair is all it takes to bring her back. And then after that, the part about the poisoned apple that we all remember, except the evil queen was disguised as a farmer's wife instead of an old hag.
And when the 7 boys came home that night and found her unconscious, they were overcome with grief, so sad. They didn't know what to do and sat around crying. It was just awful. No more Snow White to meet them and smile her lovely smile at them or sing her lovely songs, never, ever, ever again. The 7 boys cried all night long, their young hearts almost bursting with sorrow. Was there no way to break the spell the wicked queen had cast on Snow White?
Yes, it's very sad. But may I point out that there's only one bed in this house.
Was there no hope? But suddenly, something happened. Something quite incredible. Look, there in the distance, a cloud of dust.
Suddenly, you say? Well, suddenly sure is taking a long time to get here.
Could it be that a miracle was about to take place? That a Prince Charming on a noble horse would come to save Snow White?
Oh, that must be the Stalker Prince. I've heard all about him.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
But was this really Prince Charming?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie.
Yes, it was.
Did that bike just turn into a horse?
Was he a prince in disguise, or is this like some figurative thing? Doesn't matter. All of his scenes could get cut anyway.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
When he saw Snow White, he gave her a soft, loving kiss.
Yeah, all he gotta do is get up on that biddy.
And, well, the result was unbelievably beautiful and simply magical in every way.
Oh, that's hot. Now there's 7 clever boys up in this hoe, and you telling me not one of them got this idea? You all sleeping in the same bed and nobody got magical? I don't believe that.
It's probably because we can't have a story about love in the modern day.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Lonely boss bitches don't want a story about love. The modern audience don't want a story about beauty. I don't know who this modern audience is, but I guess they don't watch these movies either.
And you know what happened next. Yes, the 7 clever boys and Snow White and Prince Charming all lived happily ever after.
Ah yes, a very happy ending.
And even after that.
Now funny enough, in the old folktale, Snow White isn't saved by a kiss. While passing through the woods, the prince stumbles upon her in the glass coffin, and he thought she was so fine that he packed up her perceived dead body onto his carriage to haul back to his castle, so he could take some liberties with her. But miraculously, on the way there, they hit a huge hump in the road, and the piece of apple that was stuck in her throat dislodges, to which she recovers. And then they lived happily ever after.
Weird.
Now that is creepy. But old fairy tales are freaky like that.
Alright, it's game time. Let's start here, I guess. Is this a moose fashioned as a floaty? Oh, it's the options menu. Mouse speed. Oh yeah, crank that up. Push it to the max. This one is obviously some kind of painting game. Oh hell yeah. Now I respect the artist's vision here, but we're gonna take some liberties with the source material. Go in a new direction. It's not 1937 anymore.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937.
Now there's only one way to modernize a timeless classic. Yes, Queen. It's modern Disney accurate. Needs some more diversity in the background. Beautiful. Now since we're here, we have to mention this, just because it's integral to the story. So Snow White is described as having skin as white as snow. It's actually her namesake. And I don't really care about race-swapping characters. A good actor is a good actor. It's whatever. But in this particular case, I don't know if a Latina actress is quite the part. Seems hypocritically progressive. You know, like, we want everything to be politically correct, but you want to see what Snow White's skin actually look like? They be calling her paper white today. Now having a Latina play Snow White, is that not cultural appropriation? Is that not in the same boat as this? Or this? Or this? You know what I mean? I also want to touch on this, because it's context for the folktale. So Snow White is the fairest of them all, because she's the whitest of them all. That old saying of a fair maiden. Fair has long since become synonymous with just plain beautiful. But originally, it was used to describe paleness or lightness. But forget the source material. Let's color this moose. It's so hard to color in the small spots. You can't zoom in, and all the pictures are so poorly drawn. I mean, just look at this line work. definitely holds up to modern Disney standards. Oh my god, why is everyone and everything so ugly? Hollywood is so cooked. $300 million and ya boys look like this? Jeez. At first, I thought the seahorse was gonna be selecting scenes from the movie, but it's actually a matching game. And the scenes you have to select from are just different assortments of images. It's so lazy. They are quite literally just stills from that short video. So like this one is all shots from inside the house, and they all look very similar. And this other one is all shots from the surrounding forest. All these pictures look more or less the same. This is some high-level memory match though. This one is a jigsaw puzzle, using more stills from the video. But just like the last one, this game also takes puzzles to the next level. Can't say I've ever seen a puzzle cut like this before. And when the whole picture is just dark green and black, can I get one of these in 1,000 pieces, please? Alright, let's get started on this.
Okay.
This is so hard for no reason. This is actually taking all day. And the majority of the pieces hardly have any detail on them. Like this pile is just all green and brown. And then this pile is just all solid blue. Okay, so this is the third day that I've been working on this puzzle. And there's just not really a lot of details in this puzzle. I've gotten everything that you can get based off of the details that you can put together. And the rest of this is just mostly solid color. And it's all just going to be brute forcing. I've got these pieces sorted into what kind of shape they are. And then after I finish that, I've still got like 300 or 400 water pieces that just all blue, just solid blue, which is the majority of this puzzle is just all solid blue. I was not expecting to have to spend this much time to put this together to make a bad joke. Alright, it's day 4 of doing basically nothing except working on this stupid puzzle. And all I've got left to do is just all these solid blue pieces. I've got them sorted by what type of shape they are because the only way that you can solve this is just by brute forcing it. There are no more details to help you to try to connect pieces. You just have to do it based on what shape it is. And I don't know if you've ever brute forced a puzzle before, but it's like one of the worst experiences I've ever had. You're just doing this all day. It takes forever. And then sometimes I'll go through all of the pieces, and it's like the one that's probably supposed to go there isn't even in there. This is awful. I can't believe I committed to doing something like this. And then on occasion I found a piece that I thought went somewhere because it fit in there nicely, but it turns out it was the wrong piece in the wrong place. Like I solved the border first, right? That's what you do with a jigsaw puzzle, but somehow I messed it up and later found that it wasn't connected right when I discovered that the two sides were different lengths. So this corner's messed up. Probably, I don't know, it could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. All the pieces look exactly the same. After 4 very long and trying days, we finally finished this puzzle. This was a true test of patience, but we survived. We're gonna hang this right here in front of the door so that everyone knows just as soon as they come in that there's something wrong with me. The music in this puzzle game is lit though. Almost makes me feel like I'm playing an actual video game. Sounds a lot like Bomberman Hero. Alright, let's see what this Starman has for us. Oh no, it's one of those slidey boys. Well, let's get started. No, it's not a slidey puzzle. You can flip the pieces both horizontal and vertical. And it's animated. Forget Disney, this is some fresh hell. How do I switch these pieces though? Okay, so clicking on a piece opens the flipping controls, and then clicking on it a second time highlights the square for you to then select another piece to switch it with. Okay, we moving now. Man, this is something though. I wonder what a more advanced version of this would be like. Alright, almost there. I think I got it, but the clock is still going. Is it this corner piece? It's the only piece that doesn't have an animation on it, but I've rotated it every which way.
Oh no! I think I solved it backwards.
I need to flip the entire thing around. Alright, give me a minute. This is so tedious. Well, that's the last one.
Well done.
Hey, we got it. That's kind of cool, actually. I like the idea of a puzzle in this style. Let's see another one. Oh man, this is nauseating. I love it. We need to make one of these that uses those old school 3D glasses with the red and blue lenses. Well, I solved it backwards again. A lot of the pieces are already turned in that direction, so you're inclined to solve it that way. I'm getting the hang of this now. I feel like more animation makes it harder to solve. This one only has one object moving in the foreground, and I was able to solve it fairly quickly. Definitely the more motion in the puzzle, the harder that it is to solve. If you made one of these with no subject in the front and just the background moving, it could be really hard. It was worth playing this game just to see this weird puzzle, unlike Disney's live-action remake, which is completely irredeemable. Apparently, Snow White is creepy, dated, and weird, just like this game.